In a world that often feels disconnected, uncertain, and overwhelming, there has been no more important time in life to come back to love. I'm Robyn Vogel, psychotherapist, relationship expert, love and intimacy coach, and author of Come Back to Love, A Path to Healing, that was published this year, back in February 2026 by Kohler Books. Please look for it on Amazon. For over 20 years, I've been sitting with people in their most tender, courageous moments, the heartbreaks, the longing, the walls they've built around their hearts, and the quiet hope that real love is still possible. I want to tell you that it is. This show is a sanctuary, a place to heal the past, reconnect with yourself, and fall in love again, with your life, with others, and most importantly, with yourself. Welcome to Come Back to Love. We are on KMET, your ABC News radio affiliate. Come Back to Love radio show airs in Southern California on the radio, KMET 1490 AM and 98.1 FM. Otherwise, listeners from all over the world can listen on any podcast platform that you can find. And most especially, you can come to KMET and find me, Robyn Vogel. So let's begin. Today, I am actually doing something slightly different. I just did 2 weeks of topics that are really, really important, especially when it comes to considering the practice of come back to love with yourself and come back to love in relationship with others. 2 weeks ago, I did a show on survival mode and how being in survival mode, especially as a child, really helps us, on the flip side, on the positive side, develop things like resilience, capacity, controlling environments in a positive and maybe not so positive way. But we really develop this huge capacity for life and living. And those same skills that are so valuable, that often keep us independent, keep us separated from love and disconnected from the relationship that you are desiring, craving, and deserving. So that was 2 weeks ago. And then last week, I did a show on a part of what it means to be in survival mode and develop those skills that often block love. And I spoke about overworking, overdoing, over caretaking, overgiving, and how when you overgive, some people feel really great about receiving, but there's a cost to you. And that same strategy of overgiving, that strategy, that technique that you developed a long time ago, also has one of the costs is that it blocks you from relationship, because when you overgive, you are actually attracting people that are more like takers, and then they're not giving and gifting to you. So with these 2 episodes, I started to receive a lot of questions, and I decided to do a full episode answering questions. And so I want to say also right now that if you are listening to an episode and you've got questions, please write to me. You can go to comebacktolove.com and just click on contact. Very easy. And just send me a message and say you were listening to the show on KMET radio and you have a question. And you can reference the episode date, but you don't have to. You can just submit a question. Or you can email me directly. I look at all my emails personally. So it's Robyn, ROBYN, at comebacktolove.com. And so you can just, again, put KMET in the subject line, or just put question, and I will, like I said, read your email and get your question and answer your question on the radio. How amazing is that? So please do feel free to send me questions as they come up. So that is my intention for today, is to answer some of the questions that have come in. I hope those of you that sent them are listening, but either way, these questions are applicable to everyone who is listening. So thank you again for being here. By the way, we are here every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's a live show on KMET, and then you can listen to the replay anytime, anywhere, on any podcast platform that you love to use to listen to podcasts. So again, thank you for being here. The first question is from Susie from Illinois. She says, Robyn, I heard your show last week about overgiving, and I cried the whole way home. I've been the strong one my entire life, for my kids, for my friends, for my aging parents. I don't even know how to need something anymore. Where do I even start? Susie, this is a really common question. This is an example of how you lose the thread between you and you. You lose the thread between yourself, your parts of yourself, and your higher self. In IFS, in internal family systems, we call the higher self, we call it self energy with a capital S. So you might hear me say that from time to time, and you'll know what I mean. And maybe you have your own word for self energy. Anyway, the question is just about really being in a space of overgiving to kids, to friends, to aging parents, and not even knowing how to need something anymore. I want to invite any and all of you that resonate with this question to put your hand on your heart. This is the first practice, actually, in response to the question. Put your hand on your heart. Take a breath. Feel the warmth of your palm and your fingers. Feel that connection to your body, to your skin. And this is going to sound strange, but I want to invite you to say hello to yourself. So for me, I've got my hand on my heart, and I'm just saying, hi, Robyn. And a breath. I'm here. I'm willing and I desire to reconnect with myself. I'm willing and I desire to reconnect with myself. That's the next piece to say. That's kind of the prayer. That is the prayer. Hello and your name. I'm willing and desiring to reconnect with myself. And then I want you to practice something very, very simple. I want you to practice choosing a flavor of ice cream that you love. I know this is a really, really simple example, but honestly, I was actually just with somebody recently, and pretty much every question to this person, she just was like, I don't know, whatever, I'm fine. Do you want to, talk first? I don't know, I'm fine. Do you want, these kinds of nuts or those kinds of chocolate? I don't know. I mean, there was just sort of a general giving it over to somebody else to make a decision. And that is, one of the things that can show up here. And that's really draining on your energy because there can be resentment, making so many sacrifices like that to your kids, to your friends, to your aging parents. And I want to invite you to come back to what you need and want for you. And I know that word need can be triggering. But we all have needs. We're human. We've got needs. It comes with being human. And we also have desires. We have wants. Sometimes I like to use the word requirements for needs. So if that's a word that feels a little better to you, a little less triggery to you, like I have a requirement that I sleep, 8 hours a night. So no, I'm not going to stay up and watch the second half of that movie with you because actually I need to go to sleep so I can get 8 hours of sleep. That's a requirement for my body. So where do you start? Start with something simple. What kind of ice cream would you like to purchase today at the ice cream store? What would you like for dinner? Feel into your body, feel into your belly. What comes up right away? Often somebody who's been overgiving just pushes away their needs in their mind. Like it's not that the needs aren't present. It's not that they don't show up, but they just get pushed away so often. It's like, oh, kids, where do you want to go for dinner? And you're thinking, I'd love a hamburger. And they say, we want pizza. We want pizza. And you say, okay, yeah, let's go for pizza. So the need showed up for some protein, some nourishing, dense protein for your body, but it just gets dismissed and discounted. So I want to point you to that, because if you turn the awareness up inside yourself, on your needs, on your listening for what it is you need and you want, this information is going to come to you. And I want you to start really simple. And I invite you to get back to me and let me know how it's going, because this is a practice and it takes a while. Practice, practice, practice really opens up even more awareness, more information, more gifts for you. And the practice is really what rewires your brain to stop overgiving and to tune into yourself and to choose yourself first. This is what Come Back to Love is all about. So thank you for this question. All right. Question number 2 comes from Antonia in New York City. I'm a very successful woman. I run my own business. I have great friendships. I'm proud of my life. But every relationship I get into, I somehow end up doing all the emotional work. I'm starting to wonder if I'm attracting broken men on purpose. Am I? Well, it's a great question. And it's also a very, very common experience for people that come to work with me. I've been talking about it in the radio show, almost every week, around repeating patterns of choosing and attracting. And when you don't do the deep work of healing what's happened in the past, there can absolutely be a repetition. I'm not going to say that you're attracting broken men, because I don't think you are. And certainly you're not attracting them on purpose. But are these men coming to you to reflect something back? Yes. So we can say the universe is bringing people in front of you, quote unquote, on purpose, but you're not doing anything wrong. The gift in these men, in this case, men showing up where you're doing all the emotional work, is meant to be a reflection. And I'm just tuning in now to my intuition, to this person who asked this question, but I know it's applicable to all listening. These men are showing up as a mirror. And what I'm seeing is you looking in the mirror, and instead of seeing yourself in the mirror, I invite you to see one of these men that you're referring to. And then to breathe and be with whatever the experience was with that person. You ended up doing the emotional work. He's not tending to his emotions, or I don't know, you're making an assumption about how he feels and then talking to him about it to see if that's how he feels. Or I don't have the specifics about how you're doing the emotional work of the relationship, but I get it. And so as you're looking in the mirror, I want to invite you to see aspects of yourself reflected back in the mirror. And these are the parts, without shame, without guilt, without judgment. These are just the parts of you that are ready to be healed. When the universe drops people in front of us or situations in front of us, the universe is just saying, here, on a platter, this is what's important now. This is what you could or should look at. This is what I'm inviting you to step into, to do the healing work on now. Here is your next step. It's amazing. Some people will be like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what my next step is. I'm not sure where to go. Ignoring all of the gifts, which might not feel like gifts, but gifts from the universe that they're handing to you literally on a platter. So I want to invite you not to see these men as broken, and also not to see yourself as broken, but to see yourself as open to receiving the information that's coming to you. And that is the most important piece of coming back to yourself, of coming back to love, of growing and evolving, and really, again, opening up to the truth of who you truly are. Because each time you take a look in the mirror and you get information back, you're like, oh, I mean, who we truly are. Yes, we're perfect divine beings, but we're also in our personalities not perfect divine beings. So seeing who we truly are and getting who we truly are is really important. When I look at who I truly am, I see that I can move really quickly through things. I'm a mover and a shaker type of person. Someone asks me to do something, or something that comes to me that I want to do, and I do it step by step, and I can sometimes do it quickly. Well, guess what? The flip side of that is that I can be impatient sometimes. I can be impatient with people. I can be impatient with systems. I can be impatient with bureaucracy. I can be impatient. And okay, so it shows up in the mirror. And yes, I try to breathe and I try to, let go of impatience and come back into what I call allowance and just be with what is. But it's just also who I am in this lifetime. The mover and the shaker energy. It comes with some impatience. So I invite you to take a look in the mirror and really get and understand what's being reflected back from these men that seem to not be doing their emotional work or the emotional work of the relationship that the relationship requires. I guess one piece I would ask you is, do you step in soon or sooner? Like, are they actually capable, or maybe one of these men is actually capable of doing the emotional work, or all of them? um, but if you jump in quickly and you start making assumptions and then you start giving, that's called codependent. And we are all codependent in many ways, but that's codependent. And so where can you step back, take a breath, and give space for the other person to come forward? So that's another piece. I hope that's really helpful, not only to you, but to everybody who's listening, because this is really an important dynamic that a lot of people talk about when they come to work with me, which is this repetition of the same kind of person, but in different bodies. So take note and perhaps listen to this episode again, because there's so many great questions and answers coming through. I'm Robyn Vogel from comebacktolove.com. I'm the founder of Come Back to Love and the host of this radio show. We are on KMET Radio, and I'm really excited to be here every Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Pacific and 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Savings Time, which is what we're in right now. All righty. The next question from Bob in Escondido. That's in California. You talked about overgiving as a form of control last week, and it really hit me. But I genuinely don't feel like I'm controlling anything. I feel like I'm just being loving. How do I know the difference between real generosity and the kind you're describing? Oh my God, that is such a great question. And it's a sophisticated question. And it sounds like you, Bob, are doing some really good self-reflection. So let's take this a little bit deeper. We're looking at the distinction between giving from a full place, actually, which would be genuinely generous, and giving from a place of something else, from fear, most often. Giving from an empty cup, giving from a place where you're already drained, your cup is empty. The question I'm asking you and our listeners and my listeners is, why would you give from an empty cup? So take a breath with that question, because I know this is also really common, that people are drained and exhausted these days. Oh my goodness, myself included. I've been really recovering from some exhaustion and overgiving and feeling drained and just coming back to myself. And a lot of people talking about this. So the question for you is, why would you give from an empty cup? And I would just allow an answer to be there. Why would you give to someone if your cup is empty? Now, sometimes there are extenuating circumstances, but I would say that's more the exception, because there's often just a pattern of giving. And I talked about this in the other episode as well, that there's a pattern of giving as a transaction. I give, and therefore I will, in my mind, I might believe that I'll receive love. And that if I don't give, I won't. And so I'm using myself as a reference because it's absolutely something that I have had to process. And love as a child for me was transactional. And in certain ways, meaning was conditional, I should say it that way, was conditional. I had to do, when I did certain things well, I got love. And when I didn't, I actually got reprimanded. So to know the difference between real generosity that I've been talking about and not true generosity. And it's not that the heart is not still feeling loving, but you're crossing your own boundary when you're giving from an empty cup. So if this is you, if you feel drained, if you feel exhausted, if you feel just sick and tired of, people, and you just don't feel loved and nurtured, I really invite you to pause and ask yourself what you need, what you require to fill your cup. And for those of you that are visual, you can literally just look at a cup in front of you. Is it full? Is it half full? Is it empty? And just assume that's where it is today in this very moment. And if it's half empty or empty, what do you need to fill it? Maybe you're literally dehydrated. That's one thing that comes to me because I'm just, opening up to my intuition here to answer your questions, along with bringing in my experience and wisdom from all these years of doing this work. But also, like, are you dehydrated? So ask yourself that question. Grab your, big mug of water that you're carrying around with you and take a sip, take a gulp. But also, what else? Have you been sleeping? Have you been sleeping well? Have you been eating well? Have you been nurturing yourself by connecting with other people? Have you received touch in a long time, partnered or not? Touch is so important. Have you hugged your friends? Do you hug your friends? Do you hug your aging parents? Do you hug your partner if you have a partner? So really, really take a look at this distinction. It's really, really important and a great question. Okay, the next question is from Toronto, Canada. I've been single for 6 years since my divorce. I work out, I have therapy, I have a full life, but my friends say I seem fine, but I go home every night to an empty house and I'm not fine. After listening to your show, I'm wondering, am I using my independence to hide? And if I am, how do I stop without feeling like I'm falling apart? Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. This is an intimacy as armor question. Great question. Raw and real. And I just want to say I have so much compassion for you, as I know this is, this is a really big, important piece of life. And I want to, first of all, really acknowledge you for saying, I'm not fine. I've been single for 6 years since my divorce. My friends think I'm fine, but I'm actually not. Thank you, thank you, thank you for naming that to yourself, And I encourage you to be vulnerable and share it with some of your really close friends. Those people that are close to you, they want to know that you're not fine. They want to know really and truly what's going on. So yes, you might be using your independence to hide. And I'm, again, just tuning in to you and your energy and also to this pattern that exists. I talked about it, 2 episodes ago, that independence is armor. It can be armor. I don't need anyone. I'm okay without anybody. I'm happy. See, my life is full. I have lots of, social things and I have a lot of friends and my work is great and I'm successful. But then there's this deep yearning inside for vulnerability, for softness, for connection, for dependence, to rely on someone else. There's like this real letting go. Real letting go. And I want to invite you just to consider these concepts of letting go, of softening, of being vulnerable, of opening up to possibility, of relaxing, of moving from sympathetic nervous system, do, to parasympathetic nervous system. Relax, relax, relax in stillness. It takes practice for those that have been in survival mode, in success mode, in independence mode. It takes a breath. It takes getting into nature, walking. The weather's good now, depending on when you're listening to this episode, but the weather's good. You can walk barefoot at the beach, in nature, on trails. Nature is such a wonderful teacher when it comes to pausing and being still and listening. So I want you and invite you to really consider independence as armor. And that intimacy is actually just on the other side of that coin. So I'm going to invite you to do some journaling on that and to start to feel into, again, a hand on heart, relaxed body. What would it feel like to just receive and relax and open up to the vulnerability of what's really, really going on in your life? Because that's the way to meet your partner. I would really love to hear how this is going when you have some time to practice. Happy to support you on this journey. It is one I know myself, and I needed to really learn and practice myself. And I'm very glad to be, on the other side, although I need constant reminders to relax and receive. Okay, we have time for one more question. This is from Jill in Southern Florida. I tried the 2-second pause practice you gave last week. Someone held a door for me and I said, "You look great today." And that person said, "You look great today." And I actually stopped and said, "Thank you." And then I started crying in the parking lot and I have no idea why. What happened? Oh my God, this is so, first of all, great to hear that you listened to the radio show and tried the practice. I want to encourage everybody who's listening to try these practices, each one that I offer. That anyone that resonates with you, take it on as a practice. So this is such a beautiful, first of all, share, and second of all, question. Like, what happened? Why did I start crying? Why was I moved by just this little exchange? And I will say, because first of all, you did something different. You stepped out and stepped in. You're leaning in to the practices of come back to love, which says a lot about the choices that you want to make for yourself moving forward and what you actually want to create in your life. So first of all, just yay for taking action. And that's moving in and of itself. But the second piece is likely, and of course, I'm not you in your body, but I'm guessing the second piece is a grief. And, perhaps really the most important piece here is that there's a grief about what you haven't been receiving. And in a moment of having an actual exchange of receiving, which is so beautiful, there can also very easily just be grief on the other side. Like, wow, I've been missing this. I haven't been receiving. I haven't allowed myself. I've been blocked. I'm longing to receive. And when you have that tangible, practical experience, something cracked open. And something often does crack open. And you step into a space of receiving, even if the opening is just a tiny little space for light to come through. Keep practicing, keep opening, and I want to say keep grieving, because on the other side of the grief is the love. I'd love for you to let me know how this goes as well. And one more brief question from Elaine in Chicago. And she says, "I'm a therapist myself and I listen to your show every week." Thank you, Elaine. "I see these patterns in my clients constantly, but I'm starting to realize I live with them too. I give everything to my work and my home with nothing left for my own relationships. How do you separate doing this work professionally from healing it personally?" Oh my gosh, such a good question for this KMET radio show. I hope there are others that work in other professional fields that really understand this question as well. And gosh, I just want to say really briefly, because we're at the end here, that this is a case of needing really clear boundaries. Going to work and creating an energetic boundary around yourself, visualizing it, doing your work with all of your own, not only professional, therapy, clinical experience, but also all of your personal experience that you're garnering to serve your clients. And then remembering and realizing, and maybe perhaps I'm going to say again, remembering that your clients come to you also as a mirror. I talked about a mirror in the first question in today's episode, but our clients also come to us as mirrors. So I want to invite you back to the exercise of the mirror exercise, of looking in the mirror actually in real life and putting one of your clients in the reflection back to you. And then ask the question, what are you reflecting back to me that I need to know for myself? And then write that down. And now there's your personal healing work, which impacts, of course, your professional work. So I hope that's helpful. I really, really hope that's helpful. I hope that speaks to other people in the helping and healing professions and any other types of coaches and therapists, etc., that are listening to my radio show each week. I want to say thank you so much for spending time with me today. I'm really enjoying doing like a Q&A session and or Q&A radio show, and I plan to do these once a month. So please do send me questions. Again, you can go to comebacktolove.com, click on contact and write to me, or you can write to me directly, Robyn, ROBYN, at comebacktolove.com. If something stirred in you, if you want to go deeper with this material or with me, if you want to have a real conversation about where you are and what might be possible, I always offer a free 30-minute private conversation. Again, you just go to comebacktolove.com and click right in the center. You'll see book your 30 minutes. Very easy to do. Just you and me. Book yours again at comebacktolove.com. You've built something remarkable with your life. You deserve to have love be part of it. Not someday, not when you finally figured it all out, but now. I'm Robyn Vogel. Be gentle with yourself. Love is possible, and it starts with coming back to you. I'll see you next week.